Right, so this is just a small guide to what I carry in my camera bag. This setup will be used typically for press jobs and PR jobs where lightweight and portability is needed. Okay, so we have here 3 Canon L series lenses. The white lens at the back is a 70-200 2.8 image stabilizing telephoto. It's a very good lens, very strong, very durable. The 2 medium-sized lenses are a 17-40 f4 and a 24-105 f4 image stabilizing lens. Again, a good all-purpose lens. That particular one that's ideal for sort of weddings because you have a little bit more range than you would with a normal medium telephoto lens. Now the other 2 smaller lenses at the front, one is the 50mm 1.8 and the other is a 14mm Sigma fisheye. Now the 50mm 1.8 is one of my favourite lenses. It's a really good portrait all-purpose lens, and it's obviously very fast at 1.8, so you have a very shallow depth of field, which is useful for some quite stylized shots. But the other thing about it as well is it's an incredibly cheap lens at about £60. If you're just getting into photography, it's a great lens to be learning to use. 2 580EX Mark II flash guns and a 430EX Mark II. The reason why I don't have 3 of the 580EX Mark IIs is just because if I need more than 2 lights, the third one will be fill or just to create some separation by creating a rim light or something like that. So this is sufficient for what I need. Right, the 5D would be my key camera. The 40D is a backup. Sometimes I have to work with 2 cameras if I'm working very quickly, so shooting an event or some news story. So I'll have perhaps a long lens on the 5D and a wide on the 40D, or vice versa. The 20D is just a backup camera that I keep in the car in case the worst happens and one of those bodies fails. At some point in the future I'm going to be upgrading to the 5D Mark II. Okay, this is a compact camera that I do keep with me, often just in the car, and occasionally in my camera bag. It's a Ricoh R6. It's got an incredible macro function that really is so good that it saves me having to carry a macro lens. And also, just in case that I don't have my full camera bag in the car and I happen to see something that I want to get a picture of. Right, what we have here on the left hand side is just a flash stand, which I would use if I was using the STE2 infrared trigger, because obviously the flash guns have infrared built in, so you don't need to use an external receiver. And then on the right hand side we have another camera, another flash foot, but this has got the hot shoe on, so I can use my Elinchrom Skyports. And in the centre here we have some flash cables, which you occasionally do need. It's useful to have them there as a backup. But these little things in the middle are plastic bags, and these are actually quite important. When you're shooting outdoors in the rain with the flash guns, they are waterproof, but I'm not quite sure how waterproof they are. But certainly the receivers aren't particularly waterproof, so it's nice just to have a plastic bag to pop over the top of the whole lot, and it keeps it all dry. On the left we have a remote flash cable, which is a quick way of just using some off-camera flash. In the centre we have a timer remote controller, which is useful for any tripod work I do or time-lapse. On the right hand side is a head torch. Now I actually have a couple of these, and when I'm doing work at night, particularly if it's an industrial job on the railway say, I actually hang a head torch on each of my light stands, because it's amazing how quickly you can lose a light stand in the dark. Here we have a polarised filter, which is useful occasionally. Grid spots, which are the black things on the top left of the screen, they basically work as snoots for concentrating the light from a flash gun to create a spotlight. And then below that there is 2 stove-end diffusers, which do the opposite. It creates a softer light from the flash guns. And then on the right hand side we have some gels, which are basically just coloured filters that the flash will fire through. Now these are used to control and change ambient lighting conditions. So if you were shooting in, say, a sports hall with a very orange light, you could change your flash to an orange light, and therefore you don't have mixed white balance issues. And you can also change the colour from a flash gun for effect. If you wanted to put somebody in front of a blue background and say the wall was white, you could actually create a blue wall behind them by using the gels. Now when I go out on press and PR jobs, I will take with me 2 of these Manfrotto 001B light stands. Because you're only supporting flash guns, essentially, you don't need very, very heavy or particularly long stands, and these actually compress down to a very, very small length, but they will give you sort of 7 foot of extended use. What you also see is some white shoot-through umbrellas that are actually currently fixed to the stands, but they can be taken out. The flash is there just to give you a sense of scale, but these are very, very good light stands, and they seem to be pretty durable. The Elinchrom Skyport receiver and triggers are very good. The range is very good. They're radio triggers, so you can fire around corners, but the problem with them is that the sync speed is limited to 200th of a second. This is my STE2 infrared trigger that syncs with the flashes in full ETTL. Now it's great because you're not limited to a sync speed. It will sync up to 8,000th of a second. But the limitation with this is that because it's infrared, the range is very poor. Indoors it's not too bad. Even in a sports hall you can still get 20 or 30 metres away. But outdoors, particularly in bright sunshine where you really need the high sync speed, it will let you down. So that's why I have 2 systems. I have the Elinchrom system, which is good for range, and I have the STE2, which is good for compatibility. Okay, here we have a reflector which is in the Calumet bag, which has a white side and a gold side. It's a 32-inch reflector, which I will use for fill in bright sunshine, or to bounce a flash into to create a soft light. The grey card you see in the middle is very useful for lots of things, but architectural particularly, to make sure your white balance is absolutely spot on. And then obviously there's just some compact flash cards there in a little case. This image shows the typical setup for the wireless flash on a stand. You can see how I have the stand itself, then I have a mount, where the umbrella actually goes through the mount. The mount can be swiveled, and then on top of that obviously you have a flash, and then the mount itself, the tape that you see, is actually permanently fixing a hot shoe adapter to there, which there's a wire that comes out and attaches to the, in this case it's the Elinchrom receiver. This is my Manfrotto tripod. It's a 190XB legs with a 84RC2 basic pan tilt head with a quick release system on it. Now it's pretty good. I'd say that in some locations probably something with a bit more weight would be better, but it's pretty good for the moment. So this just shows typically what would be in my bag. You can see from here that there isn't many batteries. I would have normally more batteries with me, but currently I'm charging a lot of them. And also there'd be an additional light stand and brolly as well, because I normally carry 2. So it's difficult to imagine that all that would get in the bag, obviously with the exception of the light stand and an umbrella and the tripod that's on top of the bag there. Everything else gets packed in the Low Pro Magnum case. Okay, well, thanks for having a look at this. I hope you found it interesting. If you have any questions about the gear that I use, please feel free to get in contact. And if you want to check out any more samples of my work, then have a look at www.dougjacksonphotography.com.